Well, today we're going to be talking about thinking about three and not one with your platforms. My name is Jay Kranda. I'm an online pastor doing digital ministry the last 10 years, and I've been doing this YouTube series on digital ministry. And my hope is, and really my goal is to, through the course of all these videos, to unpack kind of what does this look like and for you to contextualize it for your church, whatever that means in whatever context, wherever that is in the world. And so if you're watching this video, please go back and watch the previous videos because I'm kind of building upon each other, kind of like a blockchain. You know, they're getting stronger and stronger as we kind of move forward. And so in today's video, just like all the others, I'm going to be talking about something just like we're getting a cup of coffee. Actually, today I have a latte that I made. It's an iced latte, no sugar, just espresso and milk. And I'm talking about platforms and audiences. Really, there's two sections here. One is about your three audiences, and then the next section is about how you should think about your platforms. I wanted to start with this example from Matthew 5, 1. It's from the Beatitudes, the Sermon on the Mount. It says in Matthew 5, 1, it says, Jesus saw the crowds. He went up on the mountain where he sat down. His disciples came. What I love about this is that Jesus saw a group of people kind of around him, and he saw a moment. And we get one of the most famous sermons ever delivered on this mountainside. Jesus taught wherever there was opportunity. He taught, in the city, in the countryside. He taught in the street and in a synagogue. He also taught on dry land. He also taught on a boat, on a mountainside, near the Jordan River. He taught everywhere. Where people were at, that's where Jesus showed up. And normally it was just going about his day. When he had an opportunity, he showed up for it. And with your church, whatever you're trying to do, in whatever method you're trying to do it, it's going to be some version of the Great Commission, the Great Commandment type of strategy. Ultimately, you're going to have a couple different ways people interact with you. And obviously, your church isn't called to reach everyone everywhere because you have a physical geo presence. But the idea is that it used to be back in the day that, you were taught, as somebody who went through seminary, I was taught to preach to the people in the room. I even practiced that in my classes in seminary. I remember we would practice giving speeches or sermons in front of our class, and they would critique it. And the idea is that I'm supposed to fill out the room, and I'm supposed to kind of learn how to do that. And you even kind of go back to the early mega churches from Spurgeon and so forth. Even the rooms were designed in such a way to amplify the voice. They were narrow, and the idea is that it could echo. But now in 2021 and onward, we have a bunch of different ways people experience our sermon and really go to our church. And so it's not just about those in the room anymore. It's about those who are also watching your live stream, maybe on YouTube or Facebook, or maybe on your church online platform, Chop, that's created that many churches use. But it's also those watching on demand later. Maybe they're watching a week, a month, a year later, and you want to make sure all three audiences in your building, the live stream watchers, and then those watching on demand later, have the potential to kind of engage and take next steps. Because it's no longer just like Jesus had. Jesus saw the crowds and he started talking to them. You have all these opportunities. And so when you're building out your strategy and when you're prepping your messages, you need to be thinking about these three audiences. You need to be aware about all the ways people are going to hear this. It's really interesting. Because people don't really experience our content linearly, meaning that people will watch a past sermon from my pastor or something even I posted online, and they'll text me or message us, and they'll say something that's could be up to 5-6 years old, but to them it's an important moment. And to them, they're they just want this thing. They just saw this video. They don't care if the video is 4 years old. They want it. And so they say, text in. We had this one where it was comment or email, grow now, or it was that was the action step. And it's funny, I still have people, this was 4 or 5 years ago, and people message me this phrase, and sometimes I have to remember, what is this too? Well, it's because people have watched that, and that's either picked up more steam on YouTube or something, and they want to experience it. And so when you're prepping and you're delivering your messages, think about these audiences. So in the room, it's really easy, right? This is probably where you have the most experience. you're the most prepped for this. You give them next steps. Hey, pull out the card, fill it out here, and then somebody will get back to you. But those watching live on Facebook or YouTube or on your chat platform, make sure you tell them, hey, you can text here, you can message here, and you give them clear next steps. And I would even encourage you, notice them online. Hey, thanks. If you're watching right here, again, you can talk to the room, but just kind of glance at the camera and just, hey, if you're watching right now on Facebook or YouTube, please take a moment and reach out. We would love to get you connected to our church or to another community. Make sure they have next steps. Something I have learned is a lot of people on Facebook and YouTube will throw something up, on their TV, either through a Chromecast, AirPlay, or maybe you have TV apps. And so what happens, how does somebody like that, engage? And so that's why a text message number is really important, or even an email, somehow thinking through making sure those people can engage. And then lastly, what do you do with on demand? Well, the idea is that a couple things. They can do that same text message, email kind of next step if you keep it open. Sometimes it's even cool to say, like, hey, even if you're watching this later in the week and it's not Sunday, hey, still text that number or email me here. And that's a really powerful way to kind of engage that person. The other thing is that something that could be powerful on your YouTube upload or even on your podcast kind of deliverable, put something at the end, like an audio recording, say, hey, thanks for listening to this podcast this week. I would love to get you connected. You can go here. For a long time, we did this with our YouTube channel where I would pop up at the end and I would do something like, hey, my name is Jay. I'm the online pastor. And I just want to let you know, no matter how you're watching this or when you're watching this, I'm here to help get you connected. And so thinking through all the different ways that your content goes up, make sure you have next steps associated with that. No matter if it's video, audio, if it's text, whatever. For us, something we did many years ago is that we added a response card or a connect card in our archive section. And so if you watch one of our past messages, below the video is a connection card. Because no matter, again, how you're watching it, we can connect them and we provide ways to kind of get them connected. So think about those three audiences, the in the building, the live stream, and on demand later, and make sure that you have ways for them to respond. The other area here that I wanted to kind of talk about over a cup of delicious coffee. Milk's probably a bad idea to put in my mouth right now before I kind of get going here, is this omnichannel approach. And you probably have heard of this word, but omnichannel is this word that literally in Latin means all or every. And the idea is that you need to be on various different platforms. You need to be thinking about how people are experiencing you. It's no longer just about your building, but it's about all these platforms. Now, what I mean by all these platforms in Omnichannel for your church, I don't think you need to be on every single platform and invest the same amount. You need to figure out what are the most important platforms for your community, depending on where you're located at or how you do church. Think about who you're reaching and pick the platforms that are really important. Now, what's hard about that is depending the age demographic of your church. If you have old and young and mix, you're going to have various different platforms. So like the main church might focus on a Facebook and Instagram and a YouTube. Maybe the youth might focus more on a TikTok, Instagram, and whatever other platform it is, and vice versa. But the key here is that your church is going to be decentralized, and you're going to have a bunch of different approaches and platforms that are going to be important to you. Now, some pointers I want to encourage you on is start with some of your main platforms like Facebook and Instagram and do those right, and don't expand until you nail down those experiences and figure out how to speak that language. I like to think of it as the Acts 1:8. It's Jerusalem, Judea, Samaria type of approach. You kind of expand out. Because as much as you might want to be on a platform like Twitch, you go, you know what, Twitch is really important. We got to figure that out. But if you can't even do Instagram right, and that's more important right now, figure that out and kind of expand. Because every platform should have its own strategy. It's going to look a little different. There's going to be similarities across it, but each platform has its own native language. On Instagram, you might, follow, you might hashtag underneath. Where Facebook, you're not going to put hashtags. You're going to tell people to DM on these accounts. A platform like Twitch is going to have its own. You're going to have raids. You're going to have people are going to donate and all this stuff. It's going to be weird. And so this is why I would say is that your church needs to think about these audiences. You also need to be omnichannel. You need to think about all the ways people are experiencing you. And then you think about your persona, meaning the fictional person you're trying to reach, and then you kind of connect them. And what does it look like for them to get a next step? And the key is, what is the initial first step? And then you can connect them to your funnel, your flywheel, your process. For example, our process is very simple at our church. It's typically We just want to pray for you. We want to reach out, and in that communication, we get them connected either to our membership type of class or into a small group. And those are kind of entryways. We actually started trying this about a year ago. I actually hired somebody who was really good at Facebook ads, and we created a interactive quiz using tryinteract.com. And we created this quiz where you can take this quiz and figure out where's the best place for you to get connected. And we found huge success around this. We actually use it internally when we're talking to people. I also run ads and retarget people, which we'll talk about that in a future session. But think about all the people you're trying to reach and narrow it down. So think about your audiences and think about your most important channels. But it's no longer just about your building or just about your church online platform or just about YouTube. All these important. Maybe pick the top 4 or 5 and invest in those. And once you have a good footing on that, then you can kind of expand out. So you have to think bigger than just one audience and one platform. It's a bunch of different audiences and a bunch of different platforms because people are consuming your content in all different ways. Kind of like Netflix kind of screwed it all up for us, but it's also way more opportunities. And so what I would love to know is, first off, what stands out from you from this video? Any questions, any comments? Maybe you disagree. I would love to know that in the comment section. And then I would love to know any feedback on stuff you want me to cover in future sessions. Next week, we're going to talk about online groups and how they are a spark and how that you can do some amazing things through launching online groups. I bet many of you have done that the past 12 months, but I'm going to kind of lay out a foundation on how to kind of continue on, even post-COVID, what does online groups look like? So thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.